Hey, I'm Spencer.
And I'm Zio.
And you're listening to the Son of a Geek podcast.
Son of a Geek!
How you doing, Zio? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I always still, like, even though it's pre-recorded now, I just want to go, son of a geek! I just want to, it's just a part of,
that.
It's inside of me. But then you're going to erase it. It's not a part of the podcast anymore.
No, it is. You do it every time. Wink.
Wink, wink. That's right. It's not pre-recorded.
Oh man, the new anime season. There's a lot of really exciting shows, and I'm really excited to be talking about this one.
Me too. I mean, we're doing things differently than we've done in the last 50 whatever podcasts we've done, right?
Yeah, well, we had some structure in some of the early podcasts.
And then we're like, nah, we're not going to do that anymore.
I was like, I don't care anymore. I just want to do the podcast. And then eventually it was kind of just like, all right, you know what? Yeah, I'm ready to be serious now.
Well, I think it's just, we really kind of like wiggled around and figured out what we wanted to do with the podcast. Because initially we started about video games, and then we just tried to be super structured there. And then we're like, this isn't as much fun as we thought it'd be. So then we're like, let's sprinkle in a little anime since we love anime. And then we did video games and anime. And now we're just kind of like jumping into the anime pool and going hog wild with it.
Well, I feel like you play more video games than you watch anime, though.
I don't, though. I mean, if you think
really?
about it, like I love video games, but I watch anime more consistently. The only video games I play are like when I'm recording and filming and stuff.
Nah, I guess that's fair.
But either way, it's just fun to be here.
I would say so as well.
I'm just really excited to do what we're about to start doing now. So we should tell everybody else.
Well, didn't we already tell them?
I don't know, did we?
Well, yeah, there was the intro at the beginning.
Oh, I thought we were going to intro after this conversation. And then like let them know hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, well, all right. So, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation just released this season, and we've prepared an initial impression and analysis for the first episode. We've done our best to keep it spoiler-free, but if you haven't seen it yet, we suggest checking it out first.
And then after that, we started doing this anime book club thing every week. We're going to talk about a certain anime and watch a few episodes every week until we finish it. It can be new, it can be old, or really anything in between. So you're behind us right now because we've already watched a few episodes, but you can catch up, and for next week, you can join us and comment below and be a part of the conversation.
And then we're going to wrap things up with some general anime topics and whatever else we feel like talking about.
Yeah, because we do this for us, not you.
So suck it.
Yeah, suck it.
Especially Thane and Toll and everyone else.
Yeah, because they don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Don't tell them, Sigs.
So, I originally thought I was gonna hate this show.
Okay, so, talk about.
Oh,
we're starting with
jumping in too quick there for you, Zio?
Yeah, too quick. All right, Jobless Reincarnation is what we're talking about now, everybody. We're gonna do our first impressions of the show. Yeah, I remember when we first talked about it, and I don't remember if it was this anime, but it was pretty close to what started our "and they're a pervert" trend.
This is the one that did that.
This is the one that started it? Yeah, so
it was the one that started that.
I remember reading the synopsis and then seeing that part, and you're like, it was so good at first, and then it was ruined.
It sounded amazing, and then it was just like, and he's a pervert. It's like, no, the show's gonna suck. Oh man, now it might be right now I feel like it's a contender for like best anime of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we've only seen one episode. Let's not get too crazy, but yeah, it's got a pretty strong base. First episode, I gotta say, it catches a lot of intrigue. The animation is pretty, and I'm into it as well. I gotta say, but just to kind of lay it out there, we'll talk about it more later. But I just want to tell this funny little story. Sped and I had talked about doing this structured podcast for like a week or two now, and we were both super confused the entire time. And I watched 2 episodes to get a first impressions of a completely different anime, and it was a miserable experience. And Sped was like, "No, we're supposed to watch this one." I'm like, "Oh no!" So we had to delay the podcast just so I could watch this episode.
Oh, it was good.
It was worth it though. But yeah, so Sped, tell me about the beginning. How does this anime start?
It starts out in typical isekai fashion, where we see the death of another character.
Well,
or we see the death of the main character.
We didn't see it though.
It
was the aftermath. Like it's already happened.
Well, he's dying in the. We see the death of it. Like the accident's already happened. Well, but we see the last moments that he sees of his life.
Right.
So we kind of see the death happen.
Yeah. What I find interesting about it is like it didn't start off by showing his life, right? It didn't like. He says how he was just some kind of a weeb who sat in his apartment and like, didn't leave for years. Like he would just bang on the floor and get food. But like we didn't see that life. He just kind of talked about it as he was dying. And I kind of found that refreshing. It just started like, I'm already dying. This happened. And it started really dark and pretty intense, I gotta say.
Yeah, like that shot where I think he was lying on the ground and like the rain was pouring down and you could see it like pooling on sections of his eyes.
Yeah, it looked really good.
And then in the hospital when the doctors are looking down at him and it's just like, I was like, this is much darker. Like, there's no boobies.
There's no boobies yet. Where's the pervert stuff? No, it was. Yeah. I really enjoyed how it just kind of threw you in the thick of it. It gave us no context. It didn't give us anything, but like he's obviously narrating over his death. But the fact that it didn't have like a lot of time to warm up, you finding out who this guy is before they kill him, it was just like, we know you guys don't care about this part of the story. Let's just start where he dies. And I think that was a smart move because then it gave them a lot more time to flesh out the rest of the episode. Because I think they pushed the episode really well in terms of narrative and like how he just grew.
Yeah, it was really exciting to see how it went from the very dark intro and then suddenly it goes to a huge contrast where he's now there in this other world and
like a warm environment and
it took me a few moments to adjust, and I think that was really well done because then it's kind of like what he was going through. So we were adjusting to this change just like he was adjusting to it
at the exact same moment. Yeah, we're adjusting through his eyes because it did his perspective, and it was coming while he was being born. So it was pretty cool. Like the transition into it was really good.
What I really liked about that part is we started to figure out things a little bit quicker than him.
Right.
I felt like it was pretty obvious. I'm like, all right, he's a newborn baby. He's being held by the parents. And then I loved the part where I mean, as much as I hate the whole, like, the whole ecchi stuff, this one with some of the moments where he's being the perv, it's done it's actually funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's not just like uncomfortable shots.
It's not your typical like itchy fashion. It was him talking about things like, "Hey, I'm a 30-year-old guy, and these guys are pretty young, but she's got nice boobs," and like it made sense for his character, and it didn't like have like overly incredibly revealing shots, and she's like trying to protect herself. Like it was a mother-son relationship they are clearly showing, and then I love the comment he made like, yeah, she's got nice boobs, but I'm not like really attracted to them. She's my mom.
I think because was that what he said there? Because there was something about where he mentioned something about them, and he's like, if she's gonna be like that, maybe I'll just try to reach them or touch them.
Yeah,
so
initially
you see the two little baby arms pop up.
Yeah,
and then you see he's like, what? And you see the arms turn around, and then it cuts to like a gasp on the front of his face, like, oh, I'm a baby.
Yeah. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, like you said, it's not your typical ichi fashion where it just has like panties and skirts and the women are embarrassed and he's embarrassed and stuff. It felt more natural, I would say.
Yeah, and every time one of those moments came up, it was quickly overtaken by something else that was funny that wasn't perverted.
Yeah, I think.
And so they hit us with the funny of that, and then they quickly just took that moment and switched it to something else, so they didn't linger on it, and it was really well done.
That big fear of yours, I think, was covered pretty well in this first episode, at least. Like, I mean, he had those perverty moments, but it wasn't like it wasn't overly done. It was only done like a few times in the episode, and it wasn't so much like he's actively going for it. It was just more of like his personality kind of slipped through a little bit, almost like just his innate desire because he's a virgin, you know. But like, I don't know.
Is that what it is?
I don't.
Is that what you were like? Is this from experience?
Not from experience, because he doesn't have any.
When you were younger, before anything had happened, you just had these moments where you just like lost control and you were just like, oh, don't touch them.
No, but if I was reincarnated as a 30-year-old virgin, maybe.
Okay, my apologies, Zio.
I'm just saying, it felt more natural than your typical Ichi fashion.
Yeah, 100%.
A little more organic the way they handled it. But yeah, it was phenomenal. So like, the main character's name is Rudy. I liked also how they started off, with like a different language. Like he didn't understand the language.
Yeah.
I like that they committed to that. It wasn't like they were just speaking and he didn't understand. They actually like, it almost looked like they created a different language. I thought it was like maybe French, but I have no idea. I'm an idiot.
Because normally in these kinds of shows, typically what happens is someone's reincarnated in the new world, and they either understand the language because of some sort of mechanic.
Whatever magical
as if
bullshit.
it's like a video game type thing, or some sort of magic person just like does something so that they can understand what everybody's saying. Very rarely do we have one like this where they come in as an infant and then they learn the language over time. Like throughout the beginning segments of the episode, he was just like, "Oh, I finally understand what these people are saying." It's just
he's like, I'm getting a grasp on their language. Yeah.
I thought that was really awesome.
I thought it was great too. I gotta say it started off pretty slow, but I didn't feel bored. You know, like it was the way he was narrating over the story in the beginning. It was almost like he's learning the world. We're learning the world through his eyes, and I felt that more fascinating and engaging than, I don't know, standard animes when like, oh hey, I'm thrusted in this world, and then all these people are just talking to him. Does that make sense? So like, I feel like a lot of animes tell you the plot through the other characters, the side characters, but this was just the main character narrating what he's learning at time, and I think it was a little more engaging because it was just different. You don't typically see a lot of this stuff happen in this fashion, I guess.
And it's also not done from the narration as if he's from the future. This is him.
Yeah.
It's like his inner voice. We hear as his 30-year-old self, narrating about what's happening currently. So everybody's in present. There's no future him telling us about the events in the past.
Yeah.
It's all in the moment.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty great. I felt engaged the entire time, and then you finally get to the money shot of a little bit of action, and that was magical. Like literal magic. Like he discovers magic because he hurts himself, and like his mom comes to heal him, and that scene was amazing.
It was just so good.
Everything about it. The animation was freaking gorgeous. It showed like the wonder in his face, and I was looking and there's like wonder in my face. I'm like, holy shit, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
They did a really good job.
I've seen the first episodes of pretty much every show coming out this season.
Okay.
And this show I believe is the highest quality animation out of every show coming out this season.
It was definitely stellar. I'm with you there. It was freaking phenomenal. Like every time throughout this episode they did something magical, I was in awe. Like just the animation surrounding it was phenomenal.
Even in some of the low moments, like they didn't cut. There was not a single corner that was cut. Everything
felt like they had like a budget design for everything, and it was really good. I liked it a lot. I can't talk about it enough. It was super good. The only time I ever watched an episode that had like this different of an intro or this different of an opening of an anime that really caught my attention was like Goblin Slayer. But like these are opposing animes. Like Goblin Slayer started off super hardcore, and then this one's just super calm and like curious.
Well, I think this is a really good time to jump into talking a little bit about the animation in sense of the studio, because I was thrown off for a loop at first when I looked up the studio that did this. It's Studio Bind, which is a new studio. This is the first anime that this studio has ever done.
Holy crap. I mean, talk about, like, hit the gate running, though. Like,
Yeah.
It's just super good animation style. For the first one...
Here's where it's going to make sense to you. So they were founded in 2018 as a joint venture between White Fox and Egg Film.
Okay.
And White Fox is the studio behind Akame Ga Kill, Steins Gate, Goblin Slayer.
Oh.
And Egg Film is the studio behind Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, Gate, which is different than Steins Gate, as well as Sword Art Online, Alicization, and Gale Online.
Okay.
And so, and I mean, they've done tons of others, but all 6 of those, or I guess 7 if you count the 2 Sword Art ones, they're all really decent quality animation at a bare minimum.
I mean, you can definitely see some influences. Like, the animation style definitely reminds me a lot of Goblin Slayer, I would say. And, like, just how it almost has, like, that sketched art, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't, like, nothing was super clean, but it didn't feel sloppy. But then, yeah, I hit the animation. It was really good. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm glad you pointed that out. Goblin Slayer, it does make sense why they have that very specific intro. I think this studio must be like maybe some of the same writers or same animators, especially that have combined, because those 2, Goblin Slayer and this anime, both have very strong opening episodes that really stand out and like catch your attention.
And they're both very strong. I'm just at a loss of words just going through my head thinking about the different animation parts of the show.
Yeah, I mean, we can agree. I mean, first impressions of the show is pretty stellar, right? I mean, like, we're both very into it. Man, do you think they're going to be able to keep it up?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
There's definitely ways that they can go where, I mean, animation quality, yeah, that's 100% it's gonna keep up with that. There's ways that the show can go downwards, but it all depends on, I think the characters are strong. Everything's really good. The only things that are going to possibly, or the most likely ways that it's going to go downhill is either through the story or through a change in setting that just doesn't work very well.
Okay. Now, I mean, so mentioning that, like, what do you think of the characters then? You said the characters are strong. So, I mean, the main character, his name's Rudy, right? And then, like, what do you think of him as the main character?
I think it's... I think he is a classic character archetype that fits really well in this kind of show, where he's kind of like reclusive in his previous life, but now in this new life, he's I believe from how he talked about different moments in it, he's wanting to move forward and not be reclusive anymore. He wants to use this as a second chance. Mm-hmm. And I think it's definitely an overused archetype, but it's an archetype that is really well done in this kind of show because, in that sense, he's got more of an outlook of adventure and wanting to experience new things and go out of his comfort zone, which puts him into situations that are sometimes dire or uncomfortable. Again, using that word, and so it really helps set things up for drama and tension in ways that other shows can really struggle with. Yeah.
No, I agree. What I liked about him is how he took part of his, I mean, this is pretty cliche too, but he took like part of his real world experience to help him learn magic. So when he's learning the magic, he's talking about it like it's a video game. He's like, all right, I just got to get the right button combos just to understand the spell, the incantation and stuff. And then he learned like, oh, I don't need to say the incantation. I just got to think about the muscle memory of it all.
I
like how he kind of broke it down from, hey, what do I know? How can I use that to better what I'm doing here? And he took the video game aspect of it and was like, yeah, we can just do it like this.
I was worried when the show started that it was going to use video game mechanics in the actual world, as if he was in like an MMO or some sort of video game.
I see that. I can see where it almost did that, but I'm glad they didn't. It's just like a completely different world entirely. It's not like a video game world or anything. It's literally just, hey, you're in this world and there's magic now.
Yeah, and moments when he starts talking about using video game mechanics to like better his own thing, I really find that it's okay, and it doesn't break the immersion when it's him talking about, oh man, this is kind of like something in this experience. Maybe I can use that to better it, instead of him like having a menu that pops down where he just like scrolls through it, or these different voices pop going, oh, you grew a level.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh hey, yeah, I just gotta work on this skill here. It was more of the mechanical side of the video games. It wasn't like the actual video game itself. It was just like he talked about like the muscle memory, and then he talked about how, oh, of course I couldn't shoot the water because I didn't think about adding projection speed to it. You know, like if I think about that, it'll help create that momentum. So yeah,
it's not like what I was saying was a slight against other animes that do that, but I just feel that the realism that I feel like they're trying to go for here requires them to not incorporate those video game mechanics as a part of like the actual world lore.
I think he's a solid character. Especially with the whole pervert thing, I thought that was definitely going to take over, and we've already talked about it enough, but yeah, it really was like very small moments that kind of like came and passed. It wasn't like anything huge or overly ecchi. It was just very small moments throughout the episode. Didn't happen frequently, so it's clearly not the focus of the episode. I think it's just there for flair.
And normally I really hate that kind of stuff, but those moments were some of the funniest moments in the episode now. Like the one where he's the little kid and he puts the underwear on his head.
Yeah.
And he's like crawling around and he looks at the maid and he's got that really uncomfortable smile on his face.
Yeah, and that maid sees right through him though. Like she knows something's going on.
Yeah, and then immediately they just like boom, pick him up, and then they switch it around where it's still, that moment's still really funny, but they don't focus in on like the perverted part about it. It's just more of like, oh, you know what? No, he's just a kid. What does he know? And the maid's just kind of like, oh, yeah, okay. So
yeah, I guess that's supposed to make sense, but this kid's unsettling. Like that's kind of how it felt to me. But it wasn't like overly played. It was a very subtle thing, and I really enjoyed that. Like it allowed us to deduce that type of emotion out of them.
And what's really great is it sets it up for another moment later on when there's some sort of dialogue between the maid and the mom while the kid's there, and the kid looks at the maid and gives her kind of like that look of like, man, I'm being mischievous. So it's like there's this interesting dynamic now but between all of them that I really hope they explore more later on.
Yeah, do you think the maid's gonna find out more about him later? And like maybe that's their little secret?
I think at the most, the maid's just gonna kind of be like, she's gonna know he's a pervert, but because of her position, she can't just outright, she doesn't feel comfortable enough to go outright to the parents and be like, look, your kid's a pervert. And I feel that it's gonna create this interesting dynamic between all of them, especially it shows, I think it shows that really strong that there's a potential for that, because at the end of the show or the episode, there's a moment that happens between two other characters, and immediately the mom just blames the other person, or not blames, but just remember at the end when that tree gets knocked down?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And the mom runs out and she's just like, oh, so and so, how could you do this? But it was the kid that did it instead.
Yeah, so it's clear, it's gonna clearly show that the mom's gonna favor the kid and assume that if anything goes wrong, it's the other person's fault.
Parents do that naturally.
Yeah, that's a typical parent thing. It makes sense. Speaking of the parents, what do you think of the parents? Like, I think they're both pretty good characters. I think they have interesting personalities, and I like their relationship a lot.
Yeah, and they're very contrasting, I think.
Yeah. I don't know
about... the dad's this hero, talented swordsman guy. I think he's like the mayor or the chief of the town or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's the guard. But I don't know if I would say their personalities
I thought he was the leader of the town.
No, I think he's like the guard of the mayor or whatever. I think he's like a high, like, leadership power, but like he's the guard of it, not like the actual mayor or whatever.
Okay, I'll have to recheck that out then.
But I think their personalities complement each other. I don't think they're opposing, because I think they both used to be adventurers. Because the mom mentioned she was an adventurer before, and obviously the dad had to be some kind of an adventurer. He's a very skilled swordsman. And I gotta say, going back to the whole pervert thing, their relationship is very out in the open. They're not like, oh, I love you too, and they like slightly hug and stuff. Like some animes kind of shy away from showing, that type of stuff, but they're like, oh, and then they kiss, and then I remember it cuts to the scene where he's reading a book, and then you hear the parents having sex in the background. Like, holy shit! I didn't expect all of that. Like that got me to laugh because I'm like, even though he's a pervert, he clearly sees them as his parents. He's not trying to peek in on them. They didn't focus on that aspect of him being a pervert. They focused on him trying to learn.
So I'm going to call it right now. He was a playboy. He was just going around sleeping around with all sorts of different people.
Oh, the dad?
Then she locked him down.
You talking about the dad, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul, he was definitely a playboy.
They definitely show he's a ladies' man. When he was showing off to the ladies, and like he does that whole and he smiles at them and he gets hit with water. I swore that was Zenith at first. I was like, oh man, that's like she's being a jealous wife, but it wasn't even her. It was their son practicing his magic.
Yeah. Okay, kind of going back to the animation there quickly. I think because it's related to that scene right there.
Okay.
I think the three scenes that were my favorite for animations was that one there when he was swinging the sword around and doing his like training exercise.
Okay.
It was the one where, oh shoot, I forgot what one of them was. But so there was that one with the sword, and then when he goes and he first does that really big, when he first like really figures out his magic.
Yeah.
And then the one that you'd mentioned before with the healing. I think. Yeah.
All three of those magic scenes, and I feel like they do it mostly when a character is first discovering a type of magic. Because after he learned that water ball, the first time he did it was super amazing and stuff. But the second time they didn't like overplay it. They definitely know when to use it and when not to. Because after he did it the first time, they made it magical and huge and a very big moment for this guy to exemplify like, hey, you did this. And it was just spectacular to look at and everything. But then afterwards, they're like, oh yeah, I can do this. But then the next time he did a different version of it and it was just cooler, they upped it up again. They're like, oh man, look at this awesome experience happening for him. I think they used it really well to heighten those moments because it's just, they used it a few times and that's all they needed to use it for because it was just perfect. I'm very excited to see.
It was like a new experience for him, so it was new for us that way too.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to learn new magic going forward just to see the different types of animations they're going to do.
Oh, and I forgot about the magic when the tree was being healed.
Yeah, it kind of like grew the limbs together. And I loved it just like, boing, it like sprung right back straight up and then it grew flowers. It used it had some good comedic timing. I think the writing was pretty good. I enjoyed a lot of the writing. I don't watch subbed. I prefer dub, but I might end up watching this sub just because it's really intriguing.
Interesting.
What do you think of the mage?
That was Roxy, right?
Yeah, Roxy, the blue hair one. Okay, so like that was a little too cliche for me. Whatever. We'll move on.
Wait, what do you mean too cliched?
Just the young kids. Young, like, oh, I'm a 15, 16-year-old prodigy. No one expected that. It's a standard for anime. It's just a thing I kind of wish they moved past. But whatever. I liked this.
I really like it in this one because she's this, when she's first introduced, she's very just standoffish, where she's just like, all right, great. I'm at another house with a bunch of rich people that want me to teach their kid magic who doesn't have any talent for magic. Yeah. And then we go through this whole scene and she's definitely got to be a prodigy, like you were saying, because of how the parents reacted to her. Yeah. And then when the kid goes to do the magic, then she's like, whoa, wait a minute. And so it kind of like knocks her off of that pedestal.
Yeah, like a prodigy teaching another prodigy.
Yeah, and up until that moment, I don't know how they did it, but it just felt like she was just this very like, I'm better than you. This is a waste of my time. And then the minute that happened, we saw her character for her actual personality for the rest of the show.
Yeah, it changed. And then then she was very humbled and like the family like brought her in and everything. It really showed a good feeling there.
And I feel like we're going to get a lot of interesting backstory with her as we go. My speculation is that because maybe something's happened and because she's a prodigy, she's not treated the same by maybe the other mages, so they always send her out on these kinds of jobs, maybe.
Yeah.
And I believe maybe I'm not right about that, but I think there's going to be something along those lines, and I think it's obvious from how she reacted to how well the parents treated her. And how they were, or not how well they treated her, but how they were like, hey, come and join us for dinner. And it was like this foreign concept for her. And then sitting at that whole dinner table with everybody was kind of exciting and interesting for her. I'm really excited to see where it goes with her, especially with just how she reacted around the dinner table to kind of see different things about her.
Now, one thing I think about, knowing that this is connected to Goblin Slayer in some capacity in terms of studio and stuff, do you think his parents are going to be killed?
No.
No? You think they're going to stay?
I don't think they're going to go that route.
Okay. I mean, this first episode obviously is a huge stark contrast to Goblin Slayer. Like, they went different routes entirely. But I'm just curious, like, it has a pretty solid animation style. It doesn't go to the chibi over-the-topness. It didn't, at least for this first episode. So I don't
think we're going to see really anything of that.
I don't think so
either.
There's
a specific character that's introduced, but even then.
I don't think so either, but I'm curious if it's going to have like a sense of groundedness and get pretty dark. I also am curious if are we going to watch him grow up to be an adult, or do you think he's going to stop at like being a little kid?
Well, I think there's either going to be a time skip and then we're going to see him a little bit older. Maybe by like a time skip of a year or two where he just, so that it kind of skips over him developing the basics of all the skills. And I only say that because the artwork for the show doesn't show him as being very old. He's maybe a couple years, maybe he's like 12 at the oldest.
Okay. You mean like the title artwork and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does show him pretty young there. Although I do hope that I would like to just see him grow. Like, maybe not like right away in the first season, but as seasons grow, I'd love to see him get older and actually become an adult. I think that would be pretty fascinating. One thing, because I don't know why, but I thought of Dragon Ball a little bit when I was watching it. It might have been the little penis they showed when he was getting a bath.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, but anyways, I would love to see Dragon Ball. I thought did very well with that. Like, it started with Goku as a kid, but you actually watch him grow as a kid to a teenager to an adult throughout his show. And I think this would be fascinating for him to go through that growth there, and then you can give him multiple story arcs depending on his age and where he's at in life. But either way, first episode's great. I'm definitely going to watch a second episode when that comes out.
So my question for you is, where do you think it's going to go from here? Because typically the route that these shows take is, or at least in the setting for how they've got it here, is he's going to go to some sort of like school for adventurers.
I hope it doesn't go to a school. I really hope it doesn't. I want this to be different. I want this one to be really different. However, writing it, if thinking of as a writer, the only way I think to write him out of this is, one, they have to send him away to learn, right? So like, he might go to a school. I hope it's not. I would love to. Maybe he goes with an adventuring group and then he learns from that adventuring group. But why would his parents send him away? So my assumption is, I do think something bad's going to happen to them. I think they're going to die. And then he gets whisked away into this group. And has to learn through experience. Because otherwise, why doesn't he just go learn and then come back home and then go learn and come back home? Something big kind of has to happen to push him forward.
I think you're right. I think something big's going to have to happen. I don't think it's going to be a death, but it could be some sort of large-scale event. Maybe his dad and is required to go off to war, or maybe his mom's required to go as well, and then he's kind of forced to go off. Maybe he ventures around with that wizard lady or whatever it is, or maybe something happens where he gets taken away or separated from them somehow, and then it's just kind of like the adventure of maybe him trying to get back together or like reunite with them or something like that.
I love that, but anime doesn't do that often, if at all. I don't think that's going to happen. I wish that would happen. That sounds really cool. I would love that. He gets kidnapped and he has to fight his way back home. That would be awesome. I'm afraid that won't happen at all.
No, typically that doesn't happen with these kinds of things.
But
it's I think it's going to be, at least from how it's all been set up, I have strong confidence in this, and honestly, from watching the first episodes of every other show, I think this is going to be the best show to watch this season.
I agree. I also, I mean, I haven't seen all the other ones, but just based off of what you tell me and the few I have seen, I agree, Spen, with no actual backing.
All right.
But I'm very excited. I do think they're going to focus on the family for like one more episode or two, and then I think something tragic is going to happen to force him out. Otherwise, the only other way they can get him out is he has to go to school or something. Those are just the natural steps from what I'm getting out of this writing here. But we'll see. We'll see.
All I hope is, I hope they don't go the school route, but if they do, I think they have the potential to do it well.
Yeah. I agree. We'll see what happens. It was really good. I definitely think this is going to be a great anime. I think anybody who came here to listen to our first impressions, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you just listened to all of this, but you should go check it out.
Yeah, you're not going to be disappointed. And if you are, you need to go check yourself.
Yeah, before you wreck yourself. Oh!
Yeah.
I feel like that's a perfect transition.
Yeah, okay. It's going to be interesting talking about the anime book club, because there's some stuff we talked about in this show where we're like, we don't want to see it go this way.
Yeah, it's true. It is going to be interesting. But I'm very excited. So, I mean, do you want to talk about the book club or should I?
Well, I think we should mention first. So we're going to be talking about, oh shit, I forgot what it's called.
Seraph of the End.
Seraph of the End. We've watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, we highly suggest go and watch it and then come back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it may not be as special for you. If you watched it a long time ago as well, still go back and watch it again. And then we're going to be watching it every 3 episodes.
Yep.
If it gets to the end and there's 5 episodes left, we're going to watch 3 the one week, and then we'll finish off the last week with 2. If it means we finished off last week with 1 episode, it's just that much more dramatic of a book club. But it's always 3 episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna try to we're gonna do our best to do at least for an anime. Most animes are around 12 episodes, so we're gonna try to do like an anime a month, or if it has multiple seasons and we want to continue it, we'll do like a season a month. The idea is just to kind of really start exploring some animes maybe we haven't seen, or maybe that one of us has only seen. The idea is Spen and I just want to talk about more anime and really engage and get to know each other's personalities through it and stuff like that. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to kind of interpret these animes and help us grow, and it'll be fun. So yeah, watch this anime with us, join the book club. We're going to do it every week.
Yeah, and I think going through and kind of analyzing and talking about these throughout is going to make us better writers for stuff for like next to nothing.
Exactly.
And other projects that we do.
Because we want to be writers and we want to create our own stuff.
Yeah.
Woo!
But I guess so one thing to keep in mind with this show is that when you go to look it up, it shows it as 24 episodes, but it is technically 2 seasons.
Okay, so yeah, we'll do the first season, and then if we like it, we'll do the second season.
Yeah. Maybe something in between, who knows?
Who knows?
Really what we're just trying to hammer into you is we might not finish it all in one go.
Yeah, we're definitely not binging the whole season in a week. It's too much. So I often, before we really get into it, I often find myself, we've talked about this, Spen, I typically watch all my anime at the end of the night before I go to bed.
Yes.
I think I've created a really bad habit. So last night, I'd been so busy, I like forced myself to stay awake till like 1 a.m. and shut up.
But I did the same thing, but I was playing Farming Simulator.
But like my wife and I watch shows and movies together before we go to bed because we work all day and stuff. So we watch our stuff. I usually wait for her to fall asleep and then I will watch the anime. But it's created this bad habit in me. I think anime puts me to sleep now. So I turned on Seraph of the End. I made it 5 minutes and zonked right out. I woke up at the end of the episode, and my wife's like, you fell asleep before me. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you started watching the anime, you passed right out. Like, you didn't even get 2 minutes into it. I was like, oh, shit. So I watched all 3 episodes this morning. But Just wanted to say that I need to find a way to break this habit, because it's true. I do find myself starting an anime, I'll fall asleep, and then I just have to finish it some other time. But anyway, Sarah at the end.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this anime. Either way, I really enjoyed it so far.
It was better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely a lot better than I expected it. So I kind of
we should figure out how we want to talk about it. Because I guess we didn't really figure that out before. I think we should go episode by episode.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about
instead
the first
of talking
episode.
about the 3 as a whole.
I didn't really So I have a bunch of notes here of 3 or 4 pages of notes. I didn't really label notes by episode. So yeah, this will be fun. Let's go.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I don't think the animation quality, because I just love talking about this kind of stuff. I don't think it's as good as what we were just talking about with the Jobless Reincarnation, but it's still pretty darn good.
Agreed. It's not quite as good, but it's also older. And I do think they took some budget cuts. So I think the backgrounds are painted. They're hand painted. And then the animations, the characters and stuff, are pretty crisp. So it's kind of
I thought that was just kind of an art style, because there's a lot of shows that do the hand painted backgrounds.
Yeah, I in this type of tone, I just kind of felt like the characters stood out a little more than they should have. It's not bad.
Oh, okay.
I still think the backgrounds were gorgeous and beautiful. It just...
I think we're a little different on the opinion there then, because I really liked it.
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm just saying they contrasted a little too much. I think the characters stood out a little too much for the background.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go back and check...
Ultimately, watching the anime, it was only something I noticed for the first couple minutes, and then maybe a few moments here and there. It wasn't a distracting thing for me. It was just something I noticed because I wrote a note down. Hand-painted backgrounds, crisp animations. Probably a budget thing is what I wrote down. So, but ultimately, I liked how it started. I thought it started pretty interesting. I'm not really big into vampires, but I thought it was pretty interesting how it's there's a huge virus killing the population, and then it showed all these kids running away, and they get captured by vampires.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I don't know if captured. It's more like they just get found and then escorted. They didn't really do any running away.
They did do some running away. There's there are 2 shots of them running away. There's one where what's his name? He was
running to meet back up with the kids in the orphanage.
Right, and then they were running away. They ran into this random house or whatever, right? Or was that their house?
No,
was that the orphanage house?
Yeah, that was the orphanage house that they were in, and then the vampire just walks in and is just like, "You're coming with me now."
Well, one broke through a window, so that's what made me think that they were captured, they were being chased.
No, I mean,
it was an aggressive way to go into a building.
I'm just trying to be nitpicky with the words.
But yeah, it was interesting. It did a lot of jumping around too in the first episode, I gotta say, time jump.
Yeah. I wish that the first episode had been split up into a couple episodes.
I agree. I feel like they wanted to really push towards their ultimate story they're going, and they kind of rushed through this beginning, because I really enjoyed the first episode. I gotta say, it's my favorite of the 3 episodes we watched.
Yes.
It was just really strong premise. They didn't give us any details on this virus. I thought that was fascinating. I like the mystery behind it. There wasn't a lot of narrative that told us. No one even tells you why vampires exist, but they exist. And again, these aren't complaints about it. It's just the mystery. There's a lot of mystery involved in this first episode, and I like that it doesn't just exposition the details at you.
I never want them to tell us why there's vampires, and I never want them to tell us how the virus works, because they're probably going to make it it's going to just be stupid.
It's probably going to be some scientist thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like, oh, well, you see, this virus does this, and it interacts with these blood cells. And it's like, no, this is stupid. Who cares? It doesn't affect the story.
Yeah, it's a minor detail that just help push the narrative. It's not a relevant detail for the narrative.
Yeah, if their goal was to cure the disease,
then yeah,
but no, he just wants to kill vampires.
Yeah, it seems like the disease has already happened and is over. They don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah,
or at least they after the first episode. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. But yeah, I thought the first episode was really good. I liked how it started with the mystery. Started them as kids, And then it just did this time jump, and they're like in this underground town. I was like, oh wow, okay, I'm with it. That's kind of cool. And it almost looks like this. They have like this whole village of just children, and then like these.
It was a really cool setting.
Yeah, it's a really cool setting, and there's just like these vampire overlord dicks. They're like the royalty, and everyone like treats them like, oh, you're the higher than thou mighty. And it's like this is the environment they grew up in. Of course, they're gonna act that way. It was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Because the whole setting for it was really interesting. I wish they'd spent more time in there. And
I agree.
They didn't need to develop like the story or anything like that, but just to kind of the reason why I say that is there's a few moments where there's different events that have happened that we were supposed to kind of relate with the character over.
Yeah.
But because they passed over things so quickly, I was just kind of left in moments where I was just like, I don't really care. I don't know who these people are.
I felt like this whole first episode, oddly enough, could have been like half a season, or maybe
at
its
least
own
2 or 3
season.
episodes.
Yeah, there was just so much in this first episode that is so fascinating. They could have focused on like a power dynamic. They could have focused on like these kids trying to find a way out. But they just kind of hit A, B, and C. They're like, oh man, I hate these vampires, oppression on us, but there's a virus outside, so what are we gonna do? They could have like focused on like, oh, maybe we need to sneak into the vampires, figure out a plan, let's get a map, let's get some tools, let's start creating a plan to get out of here. That could have been, like you said, at least a few episodes, but they're just like, oh, I hate the vampires, we need a plan. I got a plan, let's go. Like, that was it. Like, it really rushed through that first episode, and I was intrigued the entire time. I wish they dragged it out a little more.
Yeah, because it was a really good one to begin with, but it could have been like absolutely stellar.
Yeah,
they had all the pieces set in place for it.
I also liked all the characters in the beginning. Like, they're all pretty like standard one-dimensional type characters. But just the setting. There's like 3 12-year-old adults in quotations. You have like Yuichiro, Akane, and then Mikala, or whatever his name was, or Mikaela, I don't remember, Mika, or whatever they called him. They were clearly like the leaders of like this orphanage group with a bunch of small children that they had to take care of. I kind of wish they focus a little more on that. The minor,
I 100% agree.
The small dynamics they had, I thought were really cool. I liked all the personalities of all the characters and such. So, like, I wrote down little notes next to each character. I wrote Yuichiro, I wrote angsty. Akane, I wrote motherly type. And then Mikala, I was like, lighthearted, fun guy. But yeah,
none of the other orphans were really important besides Yuichiro, Michaela, or Mika, and Akane. Everybody else was just kind of...
there, right. Yeah, I kind of wish they focus a little more on that so we can build these relationships with them and get to know these characters, all for the ending of the first episode to be that much more dramatic, you know?
Well, even if they just done more with Akane, it would have been a much more dramatic end. Because they teased some stuff where I think Akane was interested in Yuichiro.
I agree. I wrote that down too. I wrote, possible love interest. There's clear chemistry here. I thought there was going to be like this love triangle thing going on between them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where they're like all kind of interested in each other, but yet all just trying to be friends. It really when it happened at the end, I was like, oh, I did not expect this happening, but now it makes sense.
So the first moment where I started to kind of be concerned about the show, it was close to the very beginning. It was the moment when that kid got his hand stepped on.
Okay.
So I felt like, because there was a brief moment where our character had the chance to kind of interact with the kid. And then the vampire comes out and steps on the guy's hand. And then the main character, how is his name pronounced again?
Yuichiro?
Yuichiro? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people just call him Yu.
Yuichiro gets really aggressive and really angry.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a great opportunity to help push onto us this hatred for the vampires. Because they
Yeah.
were all just inside. They all just had the blood or whatever taken out of them. So this could have been a moment where that kid was very exhausted and he was just kind of like doodling or drawing on the ground or something. And then there was even something quick between you going and helping him up or going and like passing him some crayons or something like that. Just some sort of simple interaction. So now it's like, oh, cool. We've got a connection with this character now. So when that guy comes and steps on the hand, then it's just kind of like, that son of a gun. Like, these vampires suck. But instead it's just kind of, he steps on the hand and it's just kind of like, yeah, it's not a cool thing to do, but
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that,
us.
but I feel like it was more to show the power dynamic of, like I said, the
But they could have
vampires
done
are.
both.
They could have done both, but yeah, I think it was more specific to show that because we don't learn anything about these vampires at all in this episode, really. Like very, very little. They're pretty kept mysterious in the first 3 episodes still. Like we don't get a whole lot of backstory or interactions about them or anything. Like I wish we would have just stayed in that first episode for a little while longer just to kind of learn the power dynamics so we could really grow to hate these vampires like you does.
Yeah.
Not to say all these criticisms, it was still a really good and strong first episode.
Oh yeah. I'm not surprised it was like a top 20 anime list of all time. I'm not surprised it's on there currently from what we've seen.
Yeah, it's so far really good. I remember when they did the time jump, and I wrote down like, holy time jump, Batman, because it like jumped 4 years. And then,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's talk about I guess the end of the first episode so we can move on. So it's super crazy. Like you start to learn these characters a little bit. They get a plan. They go to escape. It's just boom, boom, boom. There's not like a lot of growth in between to kind of get attached to these characters. When they're leaving and going through the tunnels and stuff, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then they hit like the bridge afterwards. That's when it kind of sit into me. I'm like, there's no way this is going to end well. This is like a half-ass thought out plan. Something's going to happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wasn't like that at all. I was just more like, quit yelling, you dummies. They're going to hear you.
Yeah, I remember looking at like, some kid's going to die. There's going to be like, and I was thinking like, which kid got the least screen time? He's probably going to die. That's kind of what I was thinking. They're just going to kill some kids that didn't get like a lot of screen time. And then the rest of them get out. But no, it just went a step further. When it happened, like, I have notes. I said, oh, this actually looks good. I was like, oh, shit, everyone died. And I'm like, oh, shit, everyone died. This show is fucked. And then I went back to my page 1 with Akane, and I had Motherly, and I had some other notes. I just crossed them all out and put dead. Then Mikale. I crossed them all out, and I put dead, probably. The only reason I put probably by Mikale's name is because he's on the title poster. So I'm like, he's got to come back later.
Yeah.
But yeah, they killed everybody else, and I was pretty blown away. Like, I especially thought they were going to keep Akane. Like, I thought she was going to be, like, a main character. But no, she was just fueled just like the rest of them.
No, they slit her throat. She was done.
Yep. That vampire guy's a dick. Not just to the kids, but to his community. Do they have so many kids that they can just drain a blood that they can just waste this? Like, this was just, they just slaughtered, like, what, 7 people? And no one cares? Like, I feel like that's a pretty rare commodity if the vampires need, like, all these resources. Right?
No, I never really thought of that.
That was that's one of my notes, too. Like, now vampires are going to starve. That's what
Well, I mean, with the size of that city, though, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I guess.
I feel like it just further goes to show how they just kind of... Maybe he's different than the others in some ways with just how he likes to toy with them, but they're just disposable animal. They're just...
Disposable blood sacks?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
their little human farm. Who cares what happens to them?
But anyways, first episode started great. I love the fact that he was... You know, you follow you and Mikla, and like everyone basically dies. And then he has this innate quickness, and he snuck up on the vampire and shot him in the head. Then he left. And I liked how it showed like the desolate, broken cities, and then he was found. And they showed the adults fighting him. And I wrote, oh, fuck. I was like, what did I put down? Oh, I said, and the adults, when he found him, he was like, oh, we found you due to the prophecy. I was like, I put prophecy?
I hated that.
I thought that was dumb too. Like, it should have just been dumb luck that they found him, not because of a prophecy. I'm not a big fan of like, you're the chosen one, Anakin. I kind of just wanted, you know, I like coincidences
the
more.
worst part is they were like, "Oh, we knew we would find someone just outside of the entrance to the most dangerous place on the planet by the power of prophecy."
By the Tower of Prophecy.
It's like, fuck off.
But I was intrigued by the adults. I was like, oh, this is interesting. There's adults now. So how are they going to explain this? And then the next episode, they explain it right away. The vampires just lied. I like that answer. I'm not gonna lie.
Before we jump onto that, the other thing I wanted to mention is I think there was another part where the show fell a little flat with an opportunity. And it has to do with them just not spending enough time on certain stuff in the first episode.
Yeah.
And that was when Michaela was telling Yu, he was just like, run. And then Yu's just like, but you're my family. So then Michaela's like, oh, that's the first time you've ever called us family. Like that, I didn't really feel anything with that.
Exactly. That again, the first episode should have been, if I was writing this show, now, I'm not a great writer. I don't claim to be a better writer than these guys. The rest of this anime could be fucking phenomenal.
We're way better writers.
Yeah.
We're the best writers in the world, Zio, and everybody else can just go away.
I feel like if I was writing this show, I would just take that idea. Like, this would have been like my first season. You know, the first season would have been of this family trying to get out. Like, that's all they had to do. And then all this work for nothing is kind of what it been like. Like, it built up to this whole big climactic ending. Everybody's dying in the last episode, and the only person who makes it out is Yuichiro. And when he gets out, it's just a big world, and they find out there's an adult. That would have been the end of the first season. I felt like that would have been a big hook, and then you could have continued the rest of the season as is. Like, whatever they were doing. I would have
done it a little differently. I would have done what some shows started to do a couple years later, and I would have just made the first episode 45 minutes.
Oh, just make a longer first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. I don't know. I just really enjoyed that setting enough. I easily could have spent 12 episodes in that area. Like, that whole environment. They could have focused on power dynamics. They could have focused on the character growth. There's just a lot they really could have brought in. So when this moment happened, it would have been way more dramatic, and I felt like would have been more engaging. Like the whole family thing. You
I feel
build
like the
it all.
Second season the second episode would have had to have been a lot different though, because that would have been a huge contrast from just how quickly.
No,
there would have had to have been like a different build up to where he was at then.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, you'd write it different, but I'm saying like you could take that ultimate direction they're going for this whole season and still do that just at later seasons.
No, that's fair.
I don't know. I like character moments and growth through that. I mean, but yeah, they could have compiled it into 2 or 3 episodes, and if they just done that, I feel like that still would have been enough to really just, I don't know, like get the feeling behind it all that they wanted.
Yeah, just giving us enough time to also feel this hatred and emotional attachment that the main character felt for these other people and the vampires. Right,
because they definitely play on it. In the next 2 episodes, they go back to it multiple times.
Yeah, so, and for me, I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, cool. This is what anchors our main character. But I wish it was what anchored us as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, moving on to the second episode. I do like their explanation. I like for the vampires. And he's like, the guy's like, why are there fucking adults existing? He's like, the vampires just lied to you. And that was it.
That was awesome.
I love that explanation. I'm glad they didn't come up with like some sort of like overly twisted backstory. Like, oh, they stole you from us and we had to survive. And there's only a few of us that made it through. I like that. The vampires just lied to you. The virus killed a bunch of us. Yeah. But yeah, they just lied to keep you down
more
there.
Than a bunch. I think 10% of the population remains.
Well, yeah, but I'm just obviously I'm over exaggerating a little bit here. But yeah. That response I thought was hilarious. I thought it was a perfect. One thing I didn't like is they started off super awesome. He has like it does another time jump like 4 years later again, so he's 16 now. Mm-hmm. And he's like walking through the city, has this uniform, and it's like a destroyed city and stuff. And then a giant monster appears. I'm not a big fan of giant monsters. I kind of wish it was just like humans versus vampires, and they had to be creative on how to fight and stuff.
Well, I think the monsters are separate from the vampires.
Yeah, they are. I'm noticing that is true. I just kind of wish it didn't have that. But
It
you
would have
know,
been
it's
cooler with more of like the vampires. Like maybe there was like the underground vampires that were civilized, and then there was like the other vampires that were more like feral or whatever it was, or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
That would have been cool.
That's what I kind of wish it would be. So it's more like 1v1 clash versus or clan versus clan kind of thing almost. But then you can just build that world. But now they have monsters and whatever because they're the trumpet. They come from the trumpets of the apocalypse. Is that title of the people? The evil
I
team?
think so.
Which I think that I wrote that down and put a bunch of lines under it because that's going to be very important. I think that's what the season's going to go into.
I hope they explore it more. That's the one thing that I want to know a bit more about.
Really? That's like the thing I don't care about.
Well, I want to know more about it so that I can care about it. That's really what it is. The other stuff, because I feel like that's going to be something that's important and crucial to the season.
Yeah. Do you think the trumpets of the apocalypse are going to be vampires?
I don't know.
Because
they introduce some stuff in the third episode that
then
makes
they have
me
the demons.
more confused. But
so like you have monsters, the vampires, and now demons that you make a pact with, or like a contract with. It's very interesting.
That you can fight the vampires. Like I'm okay with that, but I don't know. I just really want to know. I'm like how for some reason I'm okay with not knowing why vampires exist, not knowing why how this virus works, but for some reason I'm just like, you gotta tell me how these demons just showed up due to some trumpet.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. I feel like it's a bit of overkill on stuff. You know, it's like when you make the show and you're specifying that vampires are the bad guys, I feel like it should just be vampires. Otherwise, just make it a show about killing monsters, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm wondering if the demons are like some sort of form of like a vampire once he's like passed or something happens to him and it turns him into one of those monsters. I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know. I feel like
they can just fix themselves like it's nothing. So
yeah. I did like
that'd be so sweet.
in episode 2.
If I got my arm cut off and I could just like stick it back on, I'd just be like,
yeah, that was really cool. I was gonna say I really liked that moment. That fight scene was really cool.
What was amazing too is that they showed that just because she fixed her arm right away, it didn't mean it was usable.
Did they?
There were moments in the fight where she fixed her arm and then she was still fighting him, but her arm was just hanging there limp beside her.
Really?
As she was running
I guess
around.
I didn't notice that.
I thought that was really sweet. So it wasn't just like an immediate, everything's good now.
That's a cool attention to detail. I didn't think they were going to go this whole demon weapon route. Like you have to have a demon weapon to kill vampires. I was thinking like you have to chop their head off or, the classic vampire stuff. Stab them in the chest with a stake. So I was really hoping they'd kind of go more into the vampire lore aspect of it, but it looks like they didn't.
Once we learn about that, I'm kind of more okay with the prophecy, but I still think it's really stupid and I hate it.
The chosen one, Anakin.
But I mean, it fits really well with that leader of the demon corps or whatever it is. It fits really well with his personality, with how he just said it, where the guy walks out and he's just like devastated. He's like, everything's so bad. And this guy's just like, oh, you're that kid from the prophecy? Cool. Come with us.
What do you think of Gurren, by the way?
I think I like him as a character.
I think he's okay. I watched the dub version. I don't know what you watched. Did you watch? I watched
the dub as well.
Oh, okay. I don't like his English voice actor. I don't like his voice.
It's okay.
I feel like he should have a voice more like Mustang from like Full Metal Alchemist. That would have been nice. I think that would fit his personality better.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to it now in the sub and see what they did for that.
Yeah, I'm curious.
The dub's actually pretty good for this one.
Yeah, the dub isn't bad. It's literally just Gurren that I don't like. I just don't like his voice very specifically. But yeah, during that, I have a couple more notes. During that teenage, like that vampire, I was like, oh, teenage vampire in some kind of crazy cuckoo jacket. Maybe she's a good vamp because she didn't kill the kid. And then I
thought something was going to happen where he went to go and attack her and she became one of like the main characters of the show along with him.
I did too. And then like when she got cut up into ash and stuff, I was like, oh, nope.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. I'm sure there's gonna be some decent vampires at some point that we come across.
Well, I mean, I feel like at the end of episode 3, we already came across one.
Which I'm not surprised. The whole
I'm
time
not either.
I'm just like, something like this is gonna happen.
Yeah,
because they showed him too much in the like the artwork for the show. Same with the intro.
Yeah, I hate watching intros because I told my wife this. She was like, "Why do you always skip the intros?" And I said, "Because they're spoilers." I was like, "It's always like a vague spoiler, like you don't know what the intro means until you watch it, but they're still spoilers. Like the intro spoils the entire anime."
Yeah, some intros definitely do. There's other shows that do a really good job at not spoiling them, but it's usually ones that have been ongoing for a long time, so they just show like characters and fights.
Yeah. But yeah, I gotta say the animation's really good, the fighting's really good. They do a good job. I wrote down reflections and I circled it a few times. They take advantage of surrounding animations, I think. So like when he's fighting the vampire, you see his eyes in the sword and he reacts. I thought that was really cool animation
I didn't catch
touch.
that.
Then there's another one where his new buddy, I wrote his name down. What's his name? Yoichi, everyone's bestie is what I called him.
Everyone's bestie.
Yoichi, where he's like in a reflective window, and they showed a little bit of animation there. I like that they're paying attention to those types of details.
Yeah.
Also, when Gurren killed that teenage vampire, the animation of her turning to ash, that was badass.
Yeah.
That was a really good animation. I really liked it. I thought it was awesome.
Well, because she was like freaking out throughout the whole thing too, as if it was extremely painful for her.
It was great. I loved it. What other notes do I got? Oh no, those are notes for something else.
I really like the dynamics of so far what I believe are the 3 main characters.
Yeah, so the purple-haired girl, Yoichi, and then you.
Yeah.
I don't know the purple-haired girl's name. I know she wrote it down in that notebook, but I don't remember it. Do you have the name?
I don't remember what it is either.
Oh, I just
didn't write down any of these characters' names. There were too many names. I just remember what they look like.
I thought I wasn't gonna like the purple-haired girl. I thought she was gonna be like this, like very monotonous, boring character. But she has these moments where she opens up. I like her more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I like the end of episode, just before the end of episode 3, we catch a little bit more of her personality, where it's kind of like, all right, okay, mate, she's got a little bit more to her now.
Yeah.
Where she was just like, fine, you're going to be a part of this now. And then it goes to the little close up and she's just like, I don't really have the ability to do that. So Gurren's not going to be happy.
It does have, I will say, it does have some cliche comedy, like anime tropes, but it also is pretty funny in some moments. Like, I enjoyed the part in episode 2 where she's like, you're just going to let this innocent bystander get bullied and beat up? And he finally steps up to fight the bullies. And she's like, oh,
but
by the way.
He only did that because the vampire, or the guy made the comment kind of like how the vampires talked.
Yeah, I know he only did it because of it. But I'm saying, like, when he finally stepped up, I like the joke that she made, like, oh, by the way, if you fight a civilian,
oh, yeah,
you get suspended even more. He's like, well, fuck. And he gets punched in the face. I thought that was really good. It has some good comedy moments. The animation is really good. It's solid. The first 3 episodes, I'm definitely excited to watch more. Like I said, even though we have those gripes, I think we agreed they should have lingered on that first episode. I'm definitely interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know where it's gonna go.
I have an idea where it's gonna go. Obviously, I think in the next couple episodes, I think you and Mika are gonna meet, and they're gonna fight, and then you's gonna not want to fight Mika, but Mika's probably gonna try to fight you or something like that. There's gonna be that tortured rivalry throughout the season, I think, and then like maybe towards the last half of the season, he joins them. I think Yoichi's gonna die. He's pretty much looks like he's worthless. So I think they're gonna build him up as the best friend character who can't really do much, but then he does a noble sacrifice to save you.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I think he's gonna struggle along with the others, and he's gonna slowly become better and better.
You think?
Yeah, they're not gonna get rid of him.
We'll see. I think they will.
I'll bet money on it that they're not gonna.
Ooh, money, hot money. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why don't we make it more dynamic than that, Spen? Why don't we bet something consequential?
Uh-oh. Like what?
I don't know. Something in Discord where we have to change our name. And there we go. Anytime if the loser for like 1 month, anytime somebody addresses the other person in the Discord, we have to respond like with your master or something, or your highness.
Oh, I don't want to do that. All right, that's a good one.
Let's do it.
I'll hate that.
Well, you're so confident he's not gonna die, right?
Well, that's true. I'm not gonna have to do it. The worst part is I'm not gonna message you at all during that month because I'm just gonna get tired of seeing it.
You don't have to message me. It's when I call out to you, you're just gonna have to respond.
Oh no, it's gonna be. Well, no, because I'm not gonna lose this.
Oh, okay. We'll see, Sped. And no spoilers from anybody in the comments. If you've seen this show already, don't tell us. We don't want to know right now. We want to find out at the end of the month when we finish this anime.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, what if we finish this season and then I'm right, but the next season he dies and then you're right?
Well,
does that mean we do it twice?
No, I don't think so. We have to finish the whole thing because I don't think there's a season 3, right? Like there wasn't like a plan for season 3.
There's supposed to be eventually, maybe.
Oh.
But there's no information released on it from what I saw.
All right. Well, out of the released episodes, if he doesn't die before then you win.
I like it. It sounds like a plan.
Cool. Sounds good.
I look forward to defeating you.
We'll see, Sped. We'll see. Man, that was our first book club, man.
I'm excited for it.
I am too.
I'm liking it more than I thought I would, and I thought I was going to enjoy it.
I didn't think I was going to like it. I remember skipping past it a lot in Funimation. I'm like, oh, this just looks dumb.
Oh, I meant the book club thing.
Oh. Yeah, that too. I also like the book club. No, I'm just kidding.
Because this show's been on my watch list every once in a while. I'd pass by and I'd be like, it seems cool, but whatever. I'm not going to try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's...
Well, yeah, this book club I think is a great idea because it's going to allow us to watch things we probably wouldn't normally watch.
Yeah. The only thing that's going to suck is if the show ends up sucking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then we only have to do a few episodes. We don't have to... I guess we don't technically have to commit. We're like, wow, these episodes are garbage. We're not going to do this next week. We're going to do something else entirely next week.
Yeah, screw that show. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. But, no, it was fun. So, to kind of go back, I guess, but I ended up watching, Spen. What was it called? It's a super long-ass title.
Something about the kid in the...
Yeah, so initially, before we watched the awesome anime for the podcast...
Yeah, by the way, we're pretty much just in our, we're talking about whatever spot now.
Yeah, everybody, we're just talking.
Still here.
Before we watched that Jobless Reincarnation, that's fantastic, I thought we were going to first impression, suppose a kid from the last Dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town.
Yeah, it's not as good.
I hated that anime.
I'm not surprised.
I really, really didn't like it. When I first started it, I saw the animation. I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty. And I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Badawa. I feel like it has a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild.
Can I just say I hate it when people call it Badawa?
Other people call it that? I thought I was the only one.
No, there's a lot of people that call it that. I hate hearing it that way. I don't know why.
I do, because it sounds stupid.
It feels like, it feels like there's an extra syllable in there that just doesn't need to be in there.
I didn't know other people did it. That's awesome. Anyways, animation I thought looked like Breath of the Wild. I was like, okay, maybe this is interesting. And then it just did everything different than what I was hoping it would do. It just everything. One, it tries to be too funny, and where like everything is over the top. Everyone overreacts to everything.
Yeah.
And also everybody looks to be incompetent. Like everybody's just incompetent, whatever they're doing. It drives me fucking bonkers.
Well, I feel it's done that way to help kind of set more of a contrast between this character and everyone else.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was... So, when they first show him, you discover his powers when he talks to a witch or whatever, right? You've seen the first episode?
Yeah, I've seen the first and second.
You talk about, like, his powers...
I think a new one came out today, or is it tomorrow?
Well, I watched parts of episode 2 as well, because I was curious about something.
Oh, okay.
But they talk about his powers and they show it, and so like the witch discovers he's super strong and super magical before he takes the test. I was kind of hoping they would hold out for the test, you know? Like, I would have loved, like, oh, hey, they started off with this town is like, everybody, we're doing the test to see who can be a part of this school or this group or whatever. And then, like, he's just some random kid that looks like an innocent. Everyone looks tough and everything. And I was kind of hoping that would be the case where he comes up and he looks like a pipsqueak and then he like punches something and it explodes and obliterates or whatever.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that's what would happen. Like I was looking forward to seeing that, but they don't show that at all. It's been an entire episode of everyone talking about how great he is. And then he shows like a little tiny feat of maybe how great he is. Like when he was talking,
well,
he
throws the grasshopper or whatever it is.
Yeah, that stuff. But I don't know. It was underwhelming. I felt like all of that should have been protracted to after he shows off his capabilities. You know, like, oh, how'd you get here? Oh, I saw a couple wild creatures, but no monsters. They're like, oh, those are monsters. And like, maybe he's discovering that at that time instead of before the test. I don't know. I just kind of wish he blew the test away and caught everyone off guard. But everyone seems to know he's super strong initially by meeting him without any other reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just does everything opposite of what I wanted. The animation's nice, but it's over the top. It's wonky. I really hated this episode.
I mean, there were a few moments where I really enjoyed that. Like when he goes to get the part-time job.
Yeah.
And that the guy's just like, oh, are you here? And he's just like, well, wait a minute. He could just like feel how powerful he was. And he was just like, oh, it's probably a spy. Oh, I gotta do it. Like, I really enjoyed that.
See, I didn't like that.
Really
I didn't like that people could feel how powerful he was. I kind of wish that people would just be blindsided by his power.
Well, but the idea behind it is, I think it has to do with kind of like the magic and different capabilities like that.
Yeah. No,
in the world of magic, I'm sure you'd be able to like sense the magical powers off of other people.
Yeah, I can see it, but I don't know. A lot of it reminded me of like a Dragon Ball successor kind of thing, because Goku was that way. But it just didn't do it as well. Because like Goku was this super powerful alien that nobody knew anything about, and he was just in this real world full of people. And then he'd go up and do these things, and he's like, "Oh, there's a giant rock in the way." He's like, "Oh, that's fine." And he picks up the rock and throws it, and everyone's like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool how they did that in Dragon Ball Z, where it was always just, we always knew he was fantastic, but nobody else in the show would knew it, so there was always just people like, oh, whatever, that's not gonna, holy crap.
Right, exactly, yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for, but whatever.
But this show took the opposite route, where it was more like, this kid, Goku was always super confident, but this kid is not confident at all, but everybody else is just like, oh man, he can do anything.
Yeah, I just don't think it works as well.
It's taken like the opposite.
Or maybe they just didn't execute it as well. I don't know.
I don't think they executed it very well. Because there are moments where I thought it showed that it could be done really well, but they just kept doing weird things.
Yeah, they did have minor interesting moments, and that was about it.
Like there was the part where I thought it was kind of funny with the whole cloth thing and like removing curses, and like he could do these very basic sigils for cleaning, but it turns out that was just like the ultimate magic.
Yeah, I agree. I do like that too. I agree with that. Like those moments were good. I like the moment where he's like, "Oh, I got here in 6 days." She's like, "Oh, you took a train?" He's like, "No, I ran." She's like, "You ran?" And then they showed that animation of like the train going by, and then he just like bullets past and everything flies away. Like that was funny. That was a good comedic moment. It had some good moments, and like I said, it kept me interested enough to start the second episode, and then I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I'm
the one
really
guy,
glad they. Oh, go for it.
I was gonna say the one guy who's recruiting all these warriors, like he's so incompetent. I hate him.
I liked that.
You like that?
I liked that with his character because it was just, I don't know. It was just kind of like this really casual thing where it's like he doesn't really want to do the job that he's doing, but he's just kind of in that position because he just got it.
See, I would have been more on board if he was a carefree, lazy lieutenant rather than.
See, that's kind of how I saw him as.
I didn't. I just saw him as an incompetent loser. Like he just didn't know anything that was going on ever, is what it seemed like.
Oh, I see that too. I guess I saw it more as just carefree.
Yeah, I definitely did not see carefree.
I guess no, that's true because there were moments where he's like, "We gotta get this kid. If he's in here, he's gonna save everything."
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. It who knows? Maybe the show will be magically great, and I'll hear about it, and maybe I'll give it another shot. But probably not gonna happen.
The biggest thing I can say that I'm really glad the show did was I hated the look and the character design of that one girl when she had all those bandages, or when she had that stuff wrapped around her head.
Yeah, and then
I was like, this is my least favorite character in the show. And then they removed it from her, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Now she's going to be able to show how amazing she is. And then suddenly it's just like,
magical belt.
She's just 100% in love.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Yeah, I hated that too. I hated the whole belt thing as well. Like, it didn't even make any sense. There's no growth there. It was like, oh, she's always had a belt around her head. That's it. One day she'll be strong enough to take it off. I was like, well, that's dumb.
Yeah, but this isn't a compliment for the show, but it fits in fine with just the style of everything, where it's just there's just a lot of stuff thrown in there, and it's just done for
there's
reason.
So much thrown in. There's so many characters they introduced, and they didn't like introduce them in interesting ways. There was just a shit ton of exposition.
Yeah.
But whatever. Moving on. The other animes are great.
Well, what other ones have you checked out?
Nothing else. The ones we talked about in this podcast is what I was referring to.
They must be pretty great then.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because of all the other shows out there, I don't know if there's any immediately where I'm just like, Zio, you gotta stop what you're doing and go check out these ones. There's a lot of mediocre. Oh, remember that Skate the Infinity one we were talking about?
Yeah.
I think you might enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out. I
was really there. It starts out really slow, but then it puts in some stuff where I'm like, wow, this is actually really interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably have to check that out then. Yeah, Skate was I like extreme sport anime, so I definitely have to check it out. I'm thinking about also checking out that Haikyuu show that you rave about so much.
I really like it.
All right.
Oh, there was another one that really surprised me this season. I don't remember what it's called. Do you remember us talking about a surfing one, or did we pass over that one?
I think it was briefly mentioned.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No?
I think it's at that point right now where it's either gonna go well or I'm gonna stop watching it after the next episode.
Okay.
But I the first episode interested me and it was really neat. But I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know. I think that one's on Crunchyroll. I don't see it on Funimation.
I mean, I have everything. I have Crunchyroll, Funimation, and High Dive. So
here's what I don't get about Funimation. I'm looking at the new releases page right now, and I scroll down, and it's like, this show came out 2 days ago. This one, it's like their order is all out of whack, where it shows me like 56 minutes, 1 hour, and then the next row shows me 9 hours and 2 days ago, and then the next row shows me 22 hours ago and 1 day ago. And then I scroll down to the next row, and it's like more than a year ago, 297 days ago. It's like, what?
What are you
These
on?
are new releases?
You're in the What's New tab?
Yeah. Like I go, what's new? New releases. And it shows me like cells at work, and then it keeps going down, and eventually it doesn't show me stuff that came out like a couple weeks ago. It's just like, you know what? You need to see what came out over a year ago. That's new.
Oh yeah, more than a year ago, the Magi episode
I
34.
don't understand.
That's so weird. Yeah, it's kind of whack. I never look at this tab. I watch it on my I just cast it to my TV from my phone.
Oh, how do you see? Do you ever look at what the new shows are out?
I mean, sometimes, but like I don't on my phone. It's just on the app. The app's pretty limited.
Well, the Funimation app is still incredible. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good app.
It shows all of the. It doesn't show like a little snippet from the episode. It shows you the actual like image of the official show artwork.
Yeah, and then it gives you descriptions.
Oh, okay. We talked about Wonder Egg Priority, about how we had no idea what was going to go on about it. That's the one show I haven't watched yet.
Wonder Egg Priority?
Yeah, that was that one where it was like the full solid yellow background.
And
it was just like Wonder Egg. We talked about it where we had no idea.
Oh man, that poster looks really good.
Yeah. It was one of the ones that we talked about in like the new shows where we were just like, we don't know anything about this, but it seems interesting.
Oh yeah. Wow, that poster art style looks great. I want to watch. I'm going to follow this.
This one might have animation quality on par with Jobless Reincarnation.
Yeah. I remember.
Or maybe not on par, but like the next closest to it. So it could be interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out eventually.
So, but
I'm excited.
late showing up for Dungeons and Dragons. I guess they started like an hour ago.
Oh man, Spad, you're gonna be so late. Now Siggs is gonna listen
fine.
to this podcast. He's gonna know.
No, Siggs won't make it this far.
No. I guess we'll find out in the comments.
I think Siggs tells us he listens to the podcast, and then he only listens to like the first 10 minutes of it.
We'll find out, I suppose.
Yeah,
But this was fun. Thanks for listening in, everybody. We really appreciate it. And if you made it this far, the magic word is I'm on Funimation. Let's pick a word. The magic word is serif.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for the magic word being I'm on Funimation.
The magic word is a sentence.
All right. So now they'll have to listen to that point to let us know a sentence.
Yes. Tell us any sentence, and then that's the magic word.
Okay. All right. I'll see you later, Zio.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. Or listening. Or whatever.
Whatever you want to do. You can watch this picture.